This is the GT310 from the year 2009. It was an OEM card from Nvidia, and well, it's not really good for much, and I was thinking, with the little fan it has and the heatsink, how far could I push it with overclocking? So that's what I'm going to do. I'll show you what I'm building in a sec. This is MSI Afterburner. We're going at the current normal clock speeds for the GT310, which is 589 MHz on the core clock and 790 on the memory clock. So I'm going to run Furmark. I'm going to remember these settings. We don't need the new version. We're going to run Furmark at 1280 by 720 with AA off. Basically the default stress test. We're going to leave this. I'm going to set a timer on my phone for 5 minutes. I'll come back to you when we've done that. Now, we've had the test running for 5 minutes, and as you can see, the average FPS is 2, the max is 4, and the minimum is 1. And to be honest, it seems like more like average at 1 FPS than what it says is 2, but still. And our temps are pretty cool at 51. We've set the fans to 100%, and the memory clock is at 790 MHz, and the core clock is at 589. So we're in a GT310 graphics card, and now we're just gonna do. There we go. I'm going to boost it to 600 MHz. Ooh, the camera's out of focus here. I'm going to boost to 600 MHz. Hopefully that'll free us up a bit of FPS. Right, so we're not getting any boost from that. So, at 610 MHz now. Gonna clock that up. Now, we want to try and get, if we can boost the average to 4. $630 MHz. Oh my god, we're pushing this card. Ooh, 630 MHz. We're at 58 degrees, so we're getting quite spicy now. The average FPS is still 3. So I reckon that means we not only means we can push it to 650 MHz. Ooh, that's a spicy GPU. Ooh, 650 MHz. Bang! Ooh! It didn't do anything. Right, staying calm. 650, we're going 59 degrees now, and we're still at an average of 3 FPS. But our max has gone up to 5, it was 4 before. See, our max FPS. Ooh, it's gone up a slight bit. Should we go straight to 700? Straight to 700 MHz. That is a jump. And now it's only go to 670. The thing is though, if our max has even gone up to 670 MHz, that come through. It's gone through. 670 MHz. The temps are fucking skyrocketing. And our average FPS, is still averaging about 3. I reckon we can push this like a tiny bit further. Let's go 700 megahertz. Now pushing this graphics card. Has that done it? I think we've crashed. We crashed. Yeah, quick restart of the computer unlocked our thing to we're now running at the what I set it to. It reset, which I didn't realise. So we're going to go for a 650 megahertz clock. And I think this should work. I didn't realise that it just reset all our progress. It's kind of a bummer. Right, how's Afterburner going? Is it actually... Aha! Right, so it's 650 megahertz. It kind of just dropped off a lot of... I restarted, and I think that just the utility went down. But yes. Okay. 650... Right, so we can get up to 650 megahertz. Let's try 690 megahertz. I'm going to save this again to profile 1. Do that. Now, I don't want to fry this CPU. Again, temperatures. I repasted this card the other day, so I'm not expecting anything to go wrong. But you know, the speed at which this card gets to 60 degrees. I mean, if you look at that line there, we're just totally pushing it. We're totally pushing this card. I can't unlock the temp limit for some reason. Now for context, my RTX 2070 Super gets to about 62 degrees. I'm a bit concerned. With this card, I don't know, the temperature seems to be quite... Is that a crash? We just crashed. We just crashed. Okay, here we are back again at 690 megahertz. I'm going to drop to 685 because I think that's a bit more stable. Sometimes it is literally just a few megahertz difference. Now I'm going to open up Firmark again. Now what it could be is a temperature thing, which I hope it's not a temperature thing. So yeah, it's not doing too bad, but what I might do though is, I'm pretty sure that temperature skyrocketing cannot be good for the graphics card, so I'm going to drag up the fan speed just a bit. Do I recommend this? No. Okay, it's 58 degrees. Now we're just gonna go. So the fan is running a bit more powerful now, but that should flatline our temperatures pretty well. It is not going down. Try 65. I want to try and keep the temps because they're still climbing if you look there. Ooh. Basically the fan is fighting. Oh, there we go. 60. Yeah, we're going down again. 66 seems the sweet spot for this overclock. We're still riding around 60 degrees. I reckon we can push it up like, I don't know, 687? Ooh, Jesus. Okay. We've not crashed anything. I don't want to show you the FPSs yet, but I can say there is an improvement in what's going on. Temps are still a bit scary to look at. Sorry, keep panning the camera out of the way. Right, so 687 looks stable. So now, I'm gonna go to overclock the memory to 850 megahertz. This is, ooh, I just saw a spike in temps then. Yeah, the memory is this card. Ooh. It's got a little bit slip. Let's try 875. Jesus. 5? When I press the buttons and I just kind of wait for it to catch up. Ooh. 62 degrees looks like what we're chilling at, which is quite hot for this GPU. It does have active cooling, and honestly, it's doing pretty good for what's going on right now. But it looks like it's fine. I might actually bump up the memory clock just like 688 megahertz. Still going good. Now this card. That is hot. I might actually bring up the cooling just a bit. It's like 75. Just to get, just to try and keep it, because 60 degrees is a bit hot, especially for this card. Doesn't look like it's doing much though. But 688 megahertz does look stable. I think this is the best we're going to get out of this card. No, you know what, I'm going to go for 900 megahertz clock on the RAM, on the VRAM. I don't know how much VRAM we have on this card. But we'll see. We'll see if fast it can go. I mean, if it's memory going in the region of like, I really don't like the temperature being up there, so we're gonna crank this fan as hard as we can. I can hear it now. This fan is 100% final clocks. 688 megahertz on the core, 900 megahertz on the memory, 100% fan speed going. We're going to run the same test, 5 minutes in Firmark, 1280 by 720. Oh, sorry, for 5 minutes. Okay, catch you then. End of the test, and we have a, let me show you this. The FPS is currently at 3, the minimum is 3, the maximum is 3. No, the maximum is 6 and the average is 3. The temperatures are 61 degrees and basically, and the fan is as hard as it'll go. But the thing is, with the fan as hard as it'll go, it makes me wonder, what would it be like if we set the fan to the stock speed? Which, I don't know if that's a good idea, but you know, life is meant to be lived. What, 68 degrees? 68 degrees. I'm just writing down the results. Max. Ooh. Yeah, I figured that would happen. So yes, it overheated and crashed. So we're gonna do a quick restart. As you can see with the overclocked card, we're running at 60 FPS with everything cranked. This is pretty good. There is none of that motion thing anymore. It's a lot smoother. It's time I'm actually streaming. As you can see, I'm actually playing the game. It's here, playing on my main computer. Sorry, my main computer being streamed through my my actual computer. It's not running that good with the controller in there. So yes. As you can see, I've gone for an average FPS of 20. The lowest I've seen it drop is 17. Oh, 16 now. Just saw that then. And yeah, the CPU is clearly the GPU which is going through all the stress in this. I've been playing for about 5-ish minutes, and you can see, like, another thing that's not really detectable is that some inputs just don't show up, and I'm pretty sure that's because the graphics card just can't keep up. Like, there's a very clear input lag that I can feel as I play. Yeah, the average FPS is 20. So, that's my pen. This is at stock, by the way. I'm gonna put a pen. Oh, there we go. There are quite a few big dips which aren't picked up by the FPS counter, which I can feel. Like there, it only says I dropped to 17, but everything just stopped, and I think it was so the GPU could catch up. And with all the particle effects going on and stuff, it makes sense. So yeah, not good. First test of Left 4 Dead 2 did not go well. With the overclock, I crashed, and then I think there was a problem with the VGA, and I'm going to have to check that now. So in troubleshooting, I think my VGA cable has just died a bit, but still. So what I found out is that I think the card is running too hot because of it's quite a small form factor build, and there's not a lot of airflow getting to the card from the bottom. So, attempt to mitigate that, what I've realised, I have this little USB fan, and what I think the problem is overheating. So, I'm going to plug this in, plug it in, find a way to mount it to the bottom, see if that improves the temperatures somewhat. Here's the fan, routed to inside the case. Let's move the power supply, but I should be getting some airflow. I realised, I was thinking if it was the cable or the slot, but I realised it's probably the cable because I can't fix it if I just fiddle it, but it just falls back down, so it needs to be like yanked up, and I don't really want to do that. So yeah, that should help thermals. So I don't know if it'll be able to run at its overclock speed. I'll have to see. I've had to check if the overclock is working. I see it doesn't seem to be. Doesn't seem to be. If I try and see, I've got it windowed now just so I can see if I can actually get it to boost that clock speed. It doesn't seem to want to. It's just locking itself at 405 megahertz. Doesn't seem too good. So I'm going to do a quick restart. Now we're doing a bit more testing. Afterburner is still running at its boost clock, which is good, but we just have to try and keep it at its boost clock, which I don't know if we'll be able to do at the moment. I'm going to keep that there. I've got the fan running to keep everything cool, so it doesn't throttle, which I think is the problem. But we're saying nice and cool, 45 degrees. I think that's mainly due to the fan, right? Right, while that's there, quickly, I'm gonna move up to, I think that our clock speeds are going too high, because every time I set to full res, we go back to the 405 megahertz cap. So I'm going to move us to, what is it, 688, 670 megahertz. No, 680 megahertz. So I'm going to drop us down a few megahertz. Drop us down 50 megahertz on the memory. Because I think it's causing instability when I try and bump it up to full res. So, 680 megahertz there. There, I'm going to exit to the main menu. And then obviously we're going to restart, and I'll catch you back when I've got it stably running. Right, so with the overclock, I brought it back a bit so it'd, you know, because it was unstable. But now we're running at an average of 20-ish FPS. It seems a bit lower, the average FPS, than it was before, but I've noticed that there are a lot less big stutters, so I don't know what's happening, so it might be a... I don't know what's going on, but it seems to be more smooth, but in terms of like big stutters, but the FPS is lower, so I don't actually know what's going on. I can't remember what the clocks, I've brought them down, I can't remember what I brought the clocks down to, but I will put them on the screen when I'm editing. Yeah. As you can see, there still are a few stutters. It's not as good as a better graphics card, but this one is, I think it's, yeah, it's 10 years old. I'll try and check the temps really quick, because that fan in there is working hard.